Chapter 1830, The Soul Returns to the Ether. Kanji 106742. The Yaks finally ushered in the end of their civilization. Even if they chose a different path based on the history of lost civilizations obtained from many sources, in the end the transformation from carbon-based civilization to silicon-based civilization ended in failure. In the Tsang Empire, people chose to transform their physical bodies into mechanical life forms, retaining only their own brains in an attempt to achieve eternity. One of the four great commanders of the empire, Plato's refused to completely transform his body. Firmly believes that Kanji will not end like this, and completely transforming itself will lead to the loss of humanity and eventually become a mechanical puppet. The day of judgment has arrived. In ancient legends, the disaster that could destroy the entire civilization did not appear. Human beings in the Kanji period cheered for joy, thinking that they had found the right way and escaped from the world of destruction. But time passed again, and gradually, the Yaks began to disappear from the land. It turns out that after most of the Yaks transformed themselves into mechanical life forms in order to avoid the world, they began to slowly lose their humanity. The mechanical body is even difficult to die, so their lives have become extremely long. A mechanical body cannot feel the beauty of food, the joy of mating, and has no desire to reproduce. We are becoming more and more alive, and theoretically speaking, we are almost gone forever. In the original plan, the humans will escape the fate of being destroyed. Even if they enter space or the deep sea, this body will be enough for them to prosper again. But gradually, people began to forget the meaning of their own lives. No more communication, no more action. Time seems to have stood still for eternity, and their lives have become meaningless because they have no goals of reproduction, struggle, and communication. The mechanical body will not worry about keeping warm. The mechanical body has a powerful central computer, making everyone extremely rational. When things begin to think about the meaning of their own existence, they will begin to be destroyed. Because the things in this world exist, they themselves have no meaning. Everything created will disappear over time. The people you love will deteriorate and leave. Without material needs, life will become boring. They locked themselves in a cage called eternity. In Kanji, civilization began to self-destruct. The few humans in the Kanji who did not choose to be completely mechanized survived. Most human beings have completely turned into machines and then perished. Plato's has been living alone for a long time, watching helplessly one of his former companions die. Started to feel lonely. And this deep feeling of loneliness completely overwhelmed. On one day, S' younger brother Karag also died. Karagher died very peacefully. At this time, almost all of Karagher's body was transformed into a mechanical life form, except for his brain. Lying on the bed, sent out a signal that he did not want to live in this hopeless world and was directly sent away by S' advanced civilization and technology. He died peacefully, without any pain. Plato's almost fell into despair because his only relative in the world died. The dead cannot be restored. We know that the material that symbolizes the most precious existence of things will completely disappear with the death of the body. This may be the reason why our Kanji civilization has reached what it is today. Plato's copied Karagher's memory and put it into the core of one of Karagher's favorite mechanical life companions. Since then, Karagher has lived by his side in this way. Brother, you must live happily. Karagher's last voice spread into the void, seeming to fall into the ethereal place with the wind. Plato's did not despair because of death. At the last moment before his death, what he thought in his heart was, "It is finally over. Karagher, I'm coming for you. I have waited so long for this moment. I hope you can wait for me in that glorious ocean." After Zhang Yi confirmed that it was safe, he went over to check on the remaining bodies of the group. But when he opened Karagher's head, he was shocked to find that there was no sacrificial spirit or source of carbon-based substances in this body. There is only a computer-like control center made of precision machinery. Karagher is not an artificial human, but a very pure machine. Is it just Demon God B's protective mechanical life form? Zhang Yi lowered his head and said lightly. Even at this time, he did not relax at all. It's just that I'm a little confused, because judging from the behavior between Carragher and Plato's, the relationship between the machine and its owner is not a simple one. It seems that we are relatives. Relatives of mechanical civilization? Zhang Yi frowned slightly, a little hard to understand. Maybe there was some story between them. But those are things that Zhang Yi no longer cares about. Mirana's eyes fell on Zhang Yi's hands hanging by his side, and he admired Zhang Yi a little more in his heart. These pairs can kill people at any time. He will never fight during a battle. Even if the victory is certain, he will be prepared for any surprises. Wanting to sneak attack while is relaxing is a stupid idea. At this time, Zhang Yi was more calm and careful than when fighting. It doesn't look like it, because no guard-type mechanical life form would stay so far away when its master is fighting. Yang Xinxin said, tilting her head, "We feel more like family members." Fellow? Zhang Yi was puzzled. How do artificial humans and mechanical beings become relatives? I don't know what the relationship between these two people is. I only know that this battle is over, and many people died. Zhang Yi took the two broken bodies into his own different space, and regardless of Mirana's somewhat complicated eyes, he went to confirm whether Alexei was alive. Both Alexei and Giselberg were seriously injured, but it was obvious that when Carragher fought with the S before, he did not intend to kill them, so neither of them would die. As long as you don't die, physical injuries are very easy to heal nowadays. Alexei's eyes were excited when he saw Zhang Yi, and he said to Zhang Yi sincerely, "I didn't expect that I would accept your kindness." "Thank you, Chaos." Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "Aren't we friends? When I heard that you were in trouble, I didn't even think about it, and came to save you as soon as possible. Fortunately, you are fine now." Zhang Yi quickly cleaned up the battlefield, and then quickly led everyone away from the place. Demon god Plato's died in battle. Zhang Yi felt a little uneasy, always feeling that something was about to happen. Because so far, many behaviors of mechanical civilization are incomprehensible. I feel that there must be some kind of conspiracy hidden behind this matter. With Zhang Yi here, the battlefield was cleaned very quickly. The huge subgates opened in the sky one by one, and then all the damaged mechanical life forms were collected inside. So far, the number of mechanical life forms Zhang Yi has obtained is close to 6 figures. Lu Ran has already studied the manufacturing process of these mechanical life forms thoroughly, and Zhang Yi plans to bring them back to Tianhai City and then repair them to form a mechanical army of his own. Of course, if you want to supply so many mechanical life forms, you must consume a lot of resources, especially the materials that must be used to repair the mechanical life forms and supply them, which is a huge expense. It is difficult for Zhang Yi to maintain a 100,000 level mechanical life form, but there is no problem in building a few thousand units. As for the remaining broken body, the materials can be disassembled and used to build the Tianhai fortress in the future. Zhang Yi is a person who knows how to live a good life and is reluctant to waste anything. Chernobyl. The moment Plato's died in battle, the six-winged king and Lordic came to that forbidden place. After more than half a century, someone finally came to this place again. The sky is gloomy black and gray, everything around is exuding a frightening silence, and the air is filled with powerful radiation, which is enough to cause major mutations in the genes of animals. Lordic slowly put the black sword in a scabbard into the scabbard. Behind him, a dozen rodent corpses larger than elephants fell in a pool of blood. After this lifetime, the animals that had experienced catastrophe in this area became more terrifying, but in front of Lordic, they were just annoying rats. "Plato's is dead," the six-winged king said. There was not much expression on his face, only a trace of recollection, and sigh flashed in his eyes. "Sad? It's not that I feel too much. We have all lived for an extremely long time, and we're already a little tired of life. If we had not waited until today to achieve their goals, perhaps these demon gods around us would have ended themselves in the years. Then let us bring the hope of all of us and move forward." The two entered Chernobyl, surrounded by a large number of engineering troops who were exploring something, and the instruments and equipment made a rapid DD sound. This shows that we are closer to the goal we want to find. There are 10 super-large mechanical life forms, super-large engineering vehicles, and huge caves have been dug here, leading straight to the deepest part of Chernobyl. The things that Solomons tried so hard to hide have once again appeared in front of the world. The six-winged king and Lordic had no time to recall Plato's, because they had more important things to do. The two jumped into the abyss, and as the distance got closer, the soul-trembling feeling became more and more obvious. We stopped at a location deep in a cave. There was nothingness here, and nothing existed. The winged king suddenly opened his 3 pairs of jet-black wings, and in a moment, he pulled out a strange-looking long sword from his waist. From the sky of Chernobyl, a black beam of light soared into the sky, carrying a terrifying power. The storm spread from the cave and swept in all directions. The black light shot straight into the sky, penetrated the clouds, defeated them, and even rushed into space. At this time, looking from the universe, you can see that a hole was briefly opened in the atmosphere. In the sky, the polyhedrons that appeared for nearly a month suddenly started to move. A hazy brilliance appeared on their surfaces, and they began to rotate slowly in midair, heading in the direction of Chernobyl. This force was so huge that it caused the mountains around Chernobyl to tremble crazily. The energy storm swept through the Chernobyl, causing some mountain peaks to crack. The snow on the mountains was also blown away hard. The formation of is a huge impact source. It was dark in Fremons, but it was light in Fremons. The sky was dark in most of Europe, and even in areas as far north as Hwashu. Li Chonggong from the northwest region walked to the window and saw that the sky in the north was extremely dark, and he quietly clenched his fists. What happened again? S' face was terrifyingly livid, because although knew that Fremons must have discovered something, S' identity and strength made him dare to take the risk. When people have too many things, they will inevitably become helpless. In the northeast region, Luya Daojun Hanshanzwa was shirtless and drinking beer at home. When he saw this, he came over and opened the window, letting the cold wind blow into the house. Seeing the dark sky and the faint energy rays reaching the sky, S' brows furrowed deeply. There's so much trouble. Even the Shungjing district was the first to notice the problem. However, no one dared to act rashly due to the warning from the being who locked the dragon well. At this time, Zhang Yi took Morana, Alexei, and others and rushed all the way back to Samalan City. In just a few minutes, across a distance of thousands of kilometers, looking at the whole world, Zhang Yi is still able to do it so freely. Of course, we can also see the dim skylight, and when we look at the black light reaching into the sky in the distance, we will also feel a kind of throbbing from the depths of our souls. What the hell is that? Zhang Yi frowned tightly, but he didn't have any information about this in his heart. After all, regarding mechanical civilization, we only understand the level of the 10 demon gods. The winged king never made a move from beginning to end. Although he was present when he killed Jupiter in the Roman divine court, he only watched with cold eyes. At this time, Pedaga, Vladimir, and Aliev were waiting for their arrival in Samalan City. Seeing that all 3 of Morana were alive, the tense faces of the 3 people instantly showed expressions of extreme surprise. 3 people rushed over, pulled Alexei and Giselberg's arms, and shook them vigorously. Of course, the Moranas dare to touch them. It's great. It's so exciting to see you guys come back safe and sound. The basis of their power is the pantheon of powerful strangers. If the 3 Moranas died in battle, their power would collapse. Morana's face was as cold as before, but he still wanted to say more. After all, she was brilliant in this battle. She originally thought it was a battle for Fremons to clear her name, but in the end she won with the help of Zhang Yi. Morana thanked Zhang Yi and did not use any more courtesy. He took the coat from an officer next to him and put it on his body, and then walked forward coldly. This action shocked many people after seeing it. As the darling of the snow country, Morana is afraid of the cold even if he needs to wear combat uniforms in the extremely cold weather. This conscious action showed that she was seriously injured at this time. Immediately, people from the medical team rushed over to treat the 3 of Morana. By the middle of the 21st century, most physical illnesses can be cured, and even advanced cancer can extend the life of patients. The emergence of supernatural doctors has made it even more difficult for people to die. The three Moranas all suffered serious injuries of the same degree, the kind that hurt their internal organs, but they could be healed quickly. Pataka turned his head and looked at Zhang Yi and others with complicated eyes. Slowly took 2 steps back, took off the hat on his head, and placed it in front of him, bowing deeply towards Zhang Yi. Thank you, Chaos Pavilion. You saved Fremons. Although there were some grievances due to interest disputes in the past, these were all personal grievances. The reason why the eye-catching Daga paid tribute to Zhang Yi was because of the great righteousness of the country. Of course, the majority of these interests were also shared. Zhang Yi smiled slightly and responded calmly, "We are allies, right? Helping you is a matter of course." Of course it sounds nice to talk now. If Bodaka had asked Zhang Yi to take action before, he had seen with his own eyes how Zhang Yi was arrogant in negotiating terms, and Bodaka would have believed it when he said it was true. Of course, if you reach out to the smiling person, Pataka can also smile with you. Yes, this is according to the previous agreement. You can take the 10% share. Zhang Yi waved his hand and directly took out about 10% of the remains of the mechanical life forms and piled them on the empty space next to them like a small mountain. In Pataka's heart, what he wanted most was definitely the 2 demonic bodies. But there is no way to open it. His mind was spinning, and he suddenly smiled, shook his head at Zhang Yi and said, "Chaos Pavilion, we can accept these things. According to the agreement, 10% of the supplies will be given to us, but this time you have helped us a lot, so please take these supplies back as your reward." The smile on Zhang Yi's lips became even stronger. Of course I understand what Pataka means. Both sides of the mechanical life have mastered a lot, and it doesn't make much sense to study the technology of this mass production machine at this time. At most, you can get some materials. What Pataka wants is a demon god's machine, and a high-level demon god's machine like Demon God B is even more rare. Of course, Zhang Yi is sure that we'll give, that is. But by giving up these supplies, you can make other demands later. Zhang Yi shook his head and said, "This person always acts according to the rules. Even if he is a brother, he must settle the accounts clearly. The promised achievement is 10%. If you accept it, I will be happy." Seeing that his plan failed, Pataka's smile looked a little embarrassed on his face, but he could still nod his head and said, "Okay then." Then he said to the officer behind him, "Let the engineering troops come over and put these mechanical bodies into the armory." Zhang Yi continued to chat, but when he was about to go back, he suddenly reminded the 3 of them, "Yes, that thing." Stretched out his finger to point at the sky in the distance, and the eyes of the 3 Patakas also looked at them, and their eyes became solemn. "It should be related to mechanical civilization. This is your disk, so I hope you can investigate carefully and find out what that party is sending. After all, this is Fremons' disk, and the country's satellites can also blatantly conduct reconnaissance during such a sensitive period. At most, some spy satellites may obtain some intelligence. But for a detailed investigation, Fremons' own investigation team can be dispatched. Beyond this point, this is what Zhang Yi should worry about." Pataka nodded with a serious expression. "Don't worry, we will do it." After Zhang Yi and others returned to their residence, they did not find this move difficult. Plato's and Karagher are indeed very powerful, but the combined skills of Zhang Yi, Morana, and Yang Xinshin, who has just been promoted to Epsilon, are too powerful, and they can basically defeat each other without any risk. Regarding Yang Xinshin's ability, it is still the same as before, and it is difficult to give a specific evaluation of the ability index. The ability of the rules system is like this: it is almost invincible within the scope of the rules. Huda's prison guillotine, if the conditions are met, it can leapfrog and kill strangers who are much stronger than her. Yang Xinshin's fallen puppet can also control all beings shot by the puppet's arrows. These abilities are extremely powerful, but they all have huge flaws. They need help from others. If they have a strong partner, their abilities will be doubled exponentially. But often when fighting alone, there will be obvious flaws. So Yang Xinshin has always been one of Zhang Yi's trump cards. Her arrows are not easy to hit the target, but she is extremely smart. If Zhang Yi needs to worry about it, she will think of ways to maximize her abilities during battle. This feeling of walking a tightrope often excites her. After Zhang Yi came back, he immediately locked himself in the bedroom. Then took out the jar that sealed the origin of Plato's. From the transparent jar, pure white light is projected, which is the purest energy. This is not the origin of gods, but the origin of the strange people Zhang Yi is used to seeing. Plato's is the same as the android demon body that has seen before because retains a lot of his own characteristics as an object. Zhang Yi opened the jar and absorbed this power into his body. Zhang Yi couldn't help but feel intoxicated by the feeling of surging energy sweeping through his body and finally gathering in his brain. It is absorbed very quickly, but it takes time to slowly transform it into your own energy. Zhang Yi unlocked the bedroom door and walked out. Deng Shintong and others were waiting outside. After seeing Zhang Yi, Deng Shintong smiled and said, "There is news from my hometown.